Nothing of interest here. HMK. I won't find any... I've already... A good idea, but... I've already searched it. I won't find...
The bracelet is worthless, mademoiselle. It is copper only. I bought it outside the train station in Istanbul. For my arthritis. Take it if you like.
I am very sorry, Your Highness. I realize how this must look, but I am only doing the job assigned me. I promise I'll return it to you, if I can.
Ah, then I expect you would like to interrogate me. I believe that is the correct term.
If I may.
But of course, I am suspect just as anyone in the Calais coach must be. I am ready for the third degree.
I have borrowed your passport, Your Highness.
I noticed that as well.
Natalia Dragomirov, 17 Avenue Kleber, Paris. You are traveling home from Istanbul, madame?
Yes. I have been staying at the Austrian embassy. My maid is with me, as you saw in the marketplace.
Could you give me a brief account of your movements last evening?
Nothing could be simpler. After dinner, Schmidt, my maid, read to me. We were interrupted by the train stopping to avoid the avalanche. Then she read aloud to me some more, until quite late.
Can you give me an idea of the time?
If I were to guess, I would say it was 1:30.
Has your maid been with you long?
15 years.
Do you consider her trustworthy?
Absolutely. Her people come from an estate of my late husband's in Germany.
Forgive the personal nature of this question, madame, but what is the color of your dressing gown?
My dressing gown? It is of blue satin.
I regret to tell you that I must take your fingerprints.
Dear me. With typewriting ribbon? Have you something I may clean my hands with afterwards?
I have some paper napkins.
Thank you, mademoiselle. Those should suit admirably.
You have been in America, I presume, madame?
Many times.
Were you acquainted with a family by the name of Armstrong?
You speak of friends of mine, mademoiselle. Sonia Armstrong was my goddaughter. I was on terms of friendship with her mother, Linda Arden, one of the greatest tragic actresses in the world. As Lady Macbeth, as Nora in A Doll's House, there was no one to touch her. I was not only an admirer of her art, I was a personal friend.
Is Linda Arden dead?
No, she is alive. But it is a sort of life. She lives in complete retirement. Her health is very delicate. She must lie on a sofa most of the time.
Mrs. Armstrong had a sister, did she not?
Yes, much younger than Mrs. Armstrong.
And she is alive?
Certainly.
Where is she?
I must ask the reason of these questions. What have they to do with the murder on this train?
The dead man was responsible for the kidnapping and death of Mrs. Armstrong's child.
Ah. In my view, then, this murder is an entirely admirable occurrence. You will pardon my slightly biased point of view.
It is most natural, madame. Where is the younger daughter of Linda Arden, the sister of Mrs. Armstrong?
I've lost touch with the younger generation. I believe she married an Englishman some years ago, but at the moment I cannot recollect the name. Mademoiselle, you will forgive me, but the one you assist, he who guides the investigation, no one has told me his name.
He is Hercule Poirot, madame.
Poirot. Of course. I thought his face was somehow familiar to me. Poirot on this train. It is destiny. If I remember the name of the Englishman, Linda's...
I won't find nothing else to... I won't find... Colonel Arbuthnot, I
expect the formalities must be winked at in a case like this, mademoiselle.
I am the frog, monsieur. Hercule Poirot is Belgian.
Apologies. No offense meant. Your accent's a bit of mid-channel. Difficult to pick up.
May I have your passport, please?
Of course.
Colonel Francis Gordon Arbuthnot, the Mews, Cheltenham, Royal Northumberland Fusiliers, currently stationed in India.
Yes, on leave.
But you're not traveling on the P&O boat? Why not?
I stopped in Baghdad with the AOC, who happens to be a good friend of mine.
Where did you meet Mademoiselle Debenham?
Miss Debenham? What, in Baghdad, if you must know.
And your opinion of her?
You can take it from me, she's all right. A Puka Sahib.
Can you give me an account of your movements last night?
Yes, I think I can. After dinner, I had a drink in the salon car with young McQueen, the dead man's secretary. Surprisingly knowledgeable about world affairs for an American, even if he had got hold of some tomfool ideas about India. We adjourned to his compartment, let me see, around 2100. That's 9 p.m. You saw us in the Belgrade station courtyard. We stepped out for a bit of fresh air, but with the weather turning foul, that wasn't on.
I will take your fingerprints now.
Will you, by Jove? Well, get on with it then.
What do you and Monsieur McQueen smoke?
McQueen doesn't, now that I think of it. A pipe's my weapon of choice.
What happened after Belgrade?
Around 2200, that's 10 p.m. Ratchet's valet came to fetch him for his employer. He went off for a while.
And what did you do after Monsieur McQueen left you?
Well, I went back to the salon car for a nightcap, didn't I? I was heading to my compartment when I ran into McQueen. Went off back to his room again to continue the natter. I put him straight on India. Learned a bit about the American stock market. Bloody fool's game, if you ask me. Oh, pardon that is to say, my language.
Do not concern yourself.
There, you see. Now I can hear the accent. It comes and goes.
What time did your discussion of world affairs end?
The conversation was so engrossing, by the time I looked at my watch, it was 1:45. McQueen called the attendant to make up his bed. I came back here.
Did anyone pass Monsieur McQueen's room while you were talking?
A good many people, I should think. I wasn't paying attention. The attendant did at one point, and I think I caught a glimpse of you wandering about.
Let us say during the last hour of your conversation.
Really, I can't.
Colonel, you have the soldier's observation for detail.
Hang on. There was a woman, I think.
Was this woman young or old?
Didn't see her, wasn't looking that way. Just a rustle in a scent.
Mademoiselle Debenham?
No, I'd recognize. That is to say, it wasn't. No, it was very strong. Fruit or something.
Can you pinpoint the time the woman passed? What were you discussing?
Let's see, I was detailing the other washout. Stalin's 5-year plan was turning out. It must have been within the last half hour. More definite than that, I can't say.
Have you ever been in America?
Never. Don't want to go.
Did you ever know a Colonel Armstrong?
Armstrong. I've known 2 or 3 Armstrongs. Selby Armstrong. He was killed on the Somme.
I mean the Colonel Armstrong who married an American woman and whose only child was kidnapped and murdered.
Ah, yes. I remember reading about that. Shocking affair. Never actually came across the fellow, but his name came up in the officers' mess, of course. Toby Armstrong. Nice fellow. Everybody liked him. Distinguished career, got the VC, Victoria Cross.
The man who was killed last night was the man responsible for the murder of Colonel Armstrong's child.
Then in my opinion, the swine got what he deserved. Though I would have preferred to see him properly hanged, or electrocuted, or whatever it is they do over there. Trial by 12 good men and true. Sound system.
Anything you can recall from last night that strikes you as suspicious?
There was one odd thing.
Yes?
As I got back to my compartment, I noticed that the door of the one beyond mine, number 16, well, it wasn't quite closed. The chap inside peered out in a rather furtive sort of way, then quickly pulled the door. Probably nothing in it, but you know what it is. Early hours of the morning, everything very still. The thing had a sinister look, like a detective story.
Thank you, Colonel Arbuthnot.
Not at all. Now, if you don't mind, I think I'll pop along to the salon car.
Don't let me keep you.
You mean to say you intend to stay in my compartment?
Yes.
And search through my belongings?
I'm sorry, but I really must.
But it just isn't. That's bloody irregular. Pardon my French.
Nothing else. I've already... Nothing else to... I've already... I'd like to talk to you again, if you don't mind. I would like to take your fingerprints.
Of course, mademoiselle. There is nothing more I can tell you.
I enjoy... I wouldn't want...
Quite interesting.
A fingerprint. I obtained a clear print and have filed it. The weather looks... A fingerprint. I obtained a clear print and have filed it. I've already... I enjoy... I wouldn't want to... I'll take that key, Mr. Hardman. If you don't give it to me, I can have a couple of the train's staff take it from you.
I'd like to see them try.
Would you really? Pierre Michel's passport and an old photograph. I'll just borrow both of them. Nothing else to... I've already... What were you doing going through Michel's belongings?
Your job.
You know I'm assisting Monsieur Poirot.
Sure. Begin the interrogation.
What is your profession?
I'm a salesman. Typewriting ribbons.
Do you always travel first class, Monsieur Hartman?
Sure. The firm pays my traveling expenses.
Where is your destination?
Paris.
And from there?
New York.
What can you tell me about the murder?
Nothing at all. At all.
That is a pity. What were you doing outside Monsieur Ratchet's window?
Okay, there were footprints there. Man's shoe, but not a large one. Size 7, maybe. I followed the tracks, then it looked like whoever made them put on some snowshoes and headed out over that deep snow near the back of the train.
I would like to take your fingerprints.
I guess it's okay.
Perhaps, Monsieur Hartman, you could tell me why I found a blackjack, or sap, as I believe it's called, in your suitcase?
How do you know what it's called?
Crime is a hobby of mine.
Yeah? Well, why don't you try knitting instead? You people are serious about this investigation, aren't you?
Of course. You have heard of Monsieur Poirot?
Yeah, I have. I think I better come clean, or I could find myself in a lot of hot water here.
I would advise you to come clean.
Okay, I don't know anything, like I said. But I ought to know something. That's what makes me sore. I ought to. My passport's a bit of a bluff. That's who I really am.
Please explain.
I showed up at the appointed time. Ratchet put me wise to the situation.
The threatening letters.
Yeah, he showed me 2 of them.
Did Monsieur Ratchet seem alarmed by the letters?
Pretended not to be, but he was rattled all right.
What instructions did he give you?
I was to travel by the same train he did to Paris and see that nobody got it. That's the thing. I did travel by the same train, and in spite of me, somebody did get him. I feel sore about that. Doesn't look any too good for me.
Did he have any idea who the letters were from?
Well, Ratchet described him to me.
What?
Sure. Said he was a small man, dark, with a kind of womanish voice.
Did Monsieur Ratchet not tell you the man's name?
Nope.
Ratchet was Cassetti, the Armstrong murderer.
No kidding. Should have recognized him. I mean, I suppose I saw photos of him in the papers and everything. Well, that explains it. Cassetti made a lot of enemies in the American underworld. He often skipped when the heat was on, leaving his partners in crime to face the music. Some assassin finally caught up with him. Say, I've really fallen down on this thing. And with a famous detective like Mr. Poirot on the case, too. This won't do my rep any good with my boss, Mr. McNeil, if it gets back to him.
I'm in the same predicament, Monsieur Hartman, believe me.
You are? Well, that's good. I mean, bad for you, but... Say, listen. If we could keep the mess I've made out of this thing between ourselves...
I must tell Monsieur Poirot everything.
Oh, sure. I'll have to swallow my professional pride there, but if we can keep it on this side of the Atlantic, maybe, I'd really appreciate it.
I'll see what I can do. Do you know anyone connected with the Armstrong case who matches the description Monsieur Ratchet gave you?
Well, that's hard to say. They're mostly dead, aren't they?
Yes. Mrs. Armstrong, Colonel Armstrong, the nursemaid who threw herself out a window.
I remember now. The nursemaid was suspected. She killed herself even though she was eventually cleared.
Are you all right? Right.
Yeah, I'm okay. Snow is very bright. So, yeah, that nursemaid was a foreigner, I think. Maybe she had some foreign relations or something. But that wasn't the first time Cassetti had run that kidnapping stunt. I bet there are lots of people had it in for him.
Please tell me your movements after dinner last night.
I played some cards with that Italian guy at the front on the coach. Then when people started turning in, I went back to my room. Stayed up all night. Had my door a bit ajar so I could keep watch. But nobody could see me. You get it?
I understand how it is done, yes. Could you see the attendant from that position?
Sure. He sits on that little seat right past my room.
Can you describe his movements?
Let's see. He answered a couple of bells after the snow stopped us. Went back into the rear coach for 10 minutes or so. Then there was a bell ringing like mad and he came running back. I got a bit nervous over that. But it was just that talkative American dame raising hell about something or other. Bit later, he headed off to make somebody's bed up. Then he settled in.
Did you see anyone moving up and down the passage?
Nope.
Is there anyone on the train who can confirm your identity?
My credentials are taped to the bottom of the table in my compartment along with my real passport. I'm sure you can find them.
Do you smoke, Monsieur Hartman?
Sure. I've got some cigarettes in my room. Come on by this evening after things quiet down. I can be far more entertaining than that mouse of a woman in your room.
No, thank you. Good day, monsieur. Nothing else. I won't find... The weather looks... I won't find... I would like to take your...
What is that you say? I protest. I have nothing to do with this crime.
Everyone must be fingerprinted.
Refuse? No, of course not. Let's get it over with.
The weather looks... Nothing else.
Someone has seen to it that the snowshoes, they are beyond repair.
I see now. I enjoy winter, but I bent the blade of the butter knife back on itself. The copper bracelet is now straight with a hooked... This doesn't seem to work. There's nothing to attach them to yet. With any luck, that will power the radio, at least for a short time.
You presume that this would be the choice of Poirot? I think not.
There's nothing to... Something is wrong here. The radio has power, but I have no way to communicate through it. I'd better turn it off so as not to drain the battery. Those don't work together. Something is wrong. I can't...
Formidable.
I obtained a clear print and have filed it. Those don't work. Something is wrong here. Those don't work. I can't get... Something is wrong. The radio has power. The weather looks... Hello, I'm afraid I'm back again. That will be... Oh, another... I would like to...
Ay, señorita?
Everyone.
Oh, then sí, I will submit.
That will be enough. I would like to finger... I still need to ask you some...
At your service, dear.
Did you see anyone leave the train last night?
No, but as I have told you, we were busy with the boiler. The pressure must be kept up for the light and heat.
Did you see anyone get on the train?
In Belgrade, there was a single passenger only for the Athens-Paris coach. No one at the other stops that I saw.
Can you describe this passenger?
He was small, dark. A doctor, I think Michel said.
No one else?
Well, Matteo, of course, the Athens-Paris attendant. Not to speak ill of the crew, but he was very late getting aboard. We left the station only moments later.
I would like to fingerprint you.
Anything you require. However, if you are planning to smear that typewriting ribbon on my fingers, it is unnecessary. My fingers are black from coal dust already.
That will be enough, Tayyip. All these doors are locked as per Monsieur Poirot's instructions. All these doors...
No talk.
This seems to be... key fit perfectly. It's locked fast. Well, what do we have here? Well, what... Well, what...
Does nothing strike you as odd about what you are doing?
Oh my! Just what is all this for? It's a makeshift bed, but who could possibly be using it? Crime et punition, Géographie européenne, Introduction à la science. Interesting selection.
Quite interesting.
There's a visible fingerprint here. I obtained a clear print and have filed it. Crime et punition, Géographie. Crime. It looks like someone had a meal here recently. It looks like someone had a meal here.
Quite interesting.
It has a fingerprint on it. I obtained a clear print and have filed it. I'd better put the lid back on. It's locked fast.
Quite interesting.
There's a visible fingerprint here. I obtained a clear print and have filed it. It looks like... This contains... These items do not belong... I'd better close. Such a cramped kitchen. I can't imagine how Klaus puts up with it. Such a cramp. An empty bottle of olive oil. An empty bottle. This door leading outside.
Excellent. Like the hand in the glove. That is most pleasing.
The cast melted. My body heat turned it back into a shapeless mass of batter.
Excellent. Like the hand in the glove. That is most pleasing. Oui, that is how Poirot would have done it.
Every knee.
Señorita Marceau,
I can't get them to...
I am sorry, mademoiselle.
These prints don't... These prints don't match. These prints don't match. These prints don't match. The prints match. These prints don't match. These prints don't match. These prints don't match. These prints don't match. The prints match.
Wait, that is...
I obtained a clear print and have filed it. These prints don't match. These prints. These prints. The prints match. These prints. The prints match. 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 can't get them to fit.
Wait, that is...
I obtained a clear print and have filed it. The prints match. The prints match.
Poirot could see at once that these are the